need to move that camera.
Good evening and welcome back to Fire. This is Black Press Live, and tonight we have two extremely special guests, Carlos Santana and Cindy Blackman Santana, delivered with a level of passion and soul equal to the legendary sonic charge of his guitar. The sound of Carlos Santana is one of the world's best-known music signatures. For more than 4 decades, from Santana's earliest days as a groundbreaking Afro-Latin-blues-rock fusion outfit in San Francisco, Carlos Santana has been the visionary force behind artistry that transcends musical genres and generational, cultural, and geographical boundaries. Also, a special treat on September 18th, renowned virtuoso drummer, songwriter, and singer Cindy Blackman Santana will release her astonishing new solo album, Give the Drummer Some. 3 years in the making, the record is a rapturous testament to Blackman Santana's unparalleled musicianship and compositional mastery. It features 17 tracks. Tonight, we're going to hear one of them. And tonight, you're going to hear from both of them. Carlos Santana and Cindy Blackman Santana, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
It is great to have you. I think it's important, Carlos, and you agree that we let ladies go first. Cindy, you may find yourself overshadowed a little bit by the greatness of your husband, but you got some greatness of your own. I mean, you've done so much. Tell us a little bit about your career and how did it all start for you?
Well, firstly, I don't feel overshadowed because I appreciate and support everything that he's done and everything that he's doing, so I'm fully behind all of that. I love his direction. And I'm also very, not in an egotistical way, but I'm very proud of the people that I've been able to come in contact with, play with, perform with, meet, hang, be befriended by, in the course of my life. So, my friends were like, Art Blakey was like my dad, I got to know Tony Williams. I got to know Elvin Jones. I met Philly Joe Jones. I met Kenny Clark, Louis Hayes, all the greatest drummers, Jimmy Cobb, Roy Haynes. I call him Uncle Roy, so I'm good, and Tony Williams told me that he liked the way I tune my drums. So I'm totally good. But yeah, I started when I was really young, and I was having a conversation with my older sister, who's 6 years my senior, just last night, and she said, Cindy, I don't know if she said, you won't remember this, but you were 6 months old, crawling on the floor. You were in the kitchen with me and Mom. She said, and you went to the cabinet and you pulled out a pan and you started playing on it. And then she said, Mom looked, and my mom was a violinist. She played violin. She doesn't play now, but she did. So she listened and she says, well, she's not just banging, she's making rhythms. She said, and we thought you'd outgrow it, but you never did. So it all started for me, I think, even before that I got here. And then it just fortunately developed, and I had the support to allow it to develop, because I didn't have anybody actively saying don't do that, except for people who lived outside of my home, and those people I just disregarded. So coming from there and starting, I babysat a summer when I was 13 to get my first professional kit. I had toy kits before that. I was able to join a band when I was 13, went to college in Berklee College of Music at 18, moved to New York a couple of years later. And then that's, Berklee was great, but where it really started for me was in New York, because that's when I saw all the greatest innovators in jazz, and many of them were still living. Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie, Art Blakey, Philly Joe Jones, all these incredible people, Dexter Gordon, they were all alive and well and playing, so I got to see all that. I got to play with Jackie McLean, Sam Rivers, Don Pullen. I played with him for a glorious 3 years. Got to play with, many of my heroes and people that I just love: Ron Carter, Buster Williams, Kenny Barron, Larry Willis, great piano player, Wallace Roney. A lot of the young cats, the guys they call the young lions. Wallace and I were very close. We played all the time. Kenny Garrett, Steve Coleman, Vincent Herring, all the young cats, Mulgrew Miller, Charnette Moffett, and Christian McBride, and so many more. I hope I'm not missing too many, and if I do, because they're all great, and I got from all these people, and from all the interactions that we had. And then at a point, I got, and it's a long story, I won't go into it, but I got introduced to Lenny Kravitz and ended up joining his band. That was, I met him the end of 1992, and we started touring in 93. And that just opened up a whole nother world of just, incredible tours and, doing things on a much larger scale because you're playing arenas, so I still had the beautiful intimacy of the jazz clubs and now that, because I can never stop playing jazz because that's who I am. But I also had this other thing, which was also incredible. So, I went through all that stuff, and all the while I started recording my own records. And so I had that going and writing and, led me kind of to where I am today. I met Carlos through, there was a time when he had a gig booked, and his drummer at the time was Dennis Chambers, who couldn't make this particular gig. Carlos needed a sub, and they ended up calling me, and I said yes before the question was even finished. Because I wanted to play with him, and surprisingly, and because I just wanted to come and play, but we just linked and were so synchronistic in so many other ways. The music that we loved, and mostly spiritually, he was right in line with where I was thinking and what I had been missing, in my life, and all that stuff just started to come together, and that kind of brings me to here today.
Wow, and we're so happy to have you, Carlos Santana. Your first big hit of the slew of big hits that you have was Evil Ways, right? How did that come about? What was the thought process behind Evil Ways, and what made it such a great hit?
Well, thank you for asking. It was Bill Graham. God has always put certain entities to open Jamanda's door for me. One was Bill Graham, the other one was Clive Davis. And Bill Graham said, "Hey, I need you guys to come over to my office. I want to talk to you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So we went to his office, and he closed the door, and he said, "Listen, I've been checking you guys a lot, and you guys don't even play songs. You guys play long ass jams, and you guys, there's no beginning, no middle, no, you just play. And I think that you guys need to learn what a song is. It's like an intro, a verse, a chorus, a bridge, and another chorus." And we're like, "What?" And so he goes, "So I want you to learn this song. Is by this gentleman named Willie Bobo. The guy who wrote it was Sonny Henry. And by the way, I told Willie Bobo, we were talking about this and that, and I just told him, well, you know what? I got this band called Santana, and they're going to record your song and kick your ass with your own song." What? I didn't know anything about this until way later, and he told me, So we recorded this song, and yes, sure enough, it went to radio. I discover, because of my love for, as I was saying, for Africa, Olatunji, my love for Mongo Santa Maria, Armando Peraza, all the greatest Congo players in the world. And, I love drummers so much, of course, everyone. But it's important for me to say that because of Bill Graham and Clive Davis, I was able to walk into a door like Woodstock or Supernatural that transcends time. I know you want to ask me about what is that element that makes Santana reach the four corners of the world with a song, And I wrote that in my notes because I wanted to share with my sisters and brothers that it's all how you identify yourself. I always identify myself with people like Louis Armstrong, who at that time, when I was a kid, he was like the first peace ambassador of the world. Whenever America would screw up, they would send Louis Armstrong on a plane, and he'd come out of the plane when the Saints come marching in, and then they forgive us, you know? And so to me, Arthur Ashe, John Coltrane, I always identify with multidimensional beings. Right now, for me, is of course Barry Bonds. You know, people who took the record so high, it might take 50 years to catch them. You know, and that's a whole other show we can do about that. With Serena and just sisters and brothers who. But I always identify with sisters and brothers who are beyond the color. You know, they're a whole rainbow. That's why I call them multidimensional beings that can go to anywhere in the world, and people would claim you as part of the family. Not a tourist. All of a sudden, you're part of the familia. They claim you. You know. So in order to do that and have that tone, like Bob Marley or John Coltrane or Sam Cooke or Bob Dylan, there's certain musicians who transcend the era.
Yes,
they stay here. Billie Holiday, and for some reason, Cindy and I would talk about this all the time. That is it is a frequency. That is the frequency that we'd like to stay with, because that frequency is irrefutable, it is indomitable, it's unstoppable, and you can't resist it. It's very irresistible, like the innocence of a child. You can't resist and that's where the purity and power is. And multidimensional beings, they know that we are free. We are free beyond the indoctrination of Bibles or any other kind of book or constitutions, because if you're not happy this lifetime, you're still a slave. You got a victim mentality, That to me is something that I really want to talk about, because for me, music liberates people from believing wrongly that you're a wretched sinner, God don't recognize that. God only recognizes what God is, which is light and love. And that's a very good clue to get to the youngsters today. Don't identify with the original sin and guilty of that you're setting yourself up for failure like that.
We are talking live with the great Carlos Santana and the great Cindy Blackman Santana. This is Black Press Fire live during the 193rd anniversary of the Black Press of America. Our conference is going on now at virtualnnpa2020.com. You mentioned Carlos, Barry Bonds. We know you have strong San Francisco roots, but I will say this: the two greatest players to ever play the game of baseball was Barry Bonds and his godfather, Willie Mays, hands down.
Yes. There you go.
There's no question about it. All around. So, Cindy, I'm gonna go back to you, and I want to hear more about before we talk about even Lenny, because I'm a big Lenny Kravitz fan as well. But I want to talk more about your music, because you, again, as we said at the outset, you have some new music coming up. The fans, I'm sure, are eagerly anticipating it. How long did it take to put together, and did the quarantine help or hurt at all?
Thank you for asking. The new record is called Give the Drummer Some, and it's going to fully be out on September 18th. We've released one track already. Imagine we have another track that will be released this coming Friday, July 10th. Two more tracks over the course of the summer before the full release. And it took a while to put together. because I was on the road in between and traveling a lot, doing a lot of tours. Santana's touring a lot, so we were, very busy. But it started out kind of an experiment with Matt Garrison, the great bass player, and myself. And we did a lot of stuff, just drums and bass. My intention was for a record, but I just wanted to get together with Matt and see what kind of stuff we could come up with, just two of us, because he's very creative and quarterly and harmonically very advanced, rhythmically also very advanced. So I just wanted to find out, what would happen if we got together. And so we started out that way, just as a duo, the two of us doing some stuff. And I do have a couple of duo things that with Matt and I that I'm going to leave as duo and release later. But we started out with that, and then I started to add different people, and the record just started to come together in that way. And Carlos was really edging me on and encouraging me to sing, and I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Well, we're going to hear a little bit of that soon, shortly.
Good.
We're definitely going to hear that voice. So we're going to see how wise your husband's advice was.
That's good advice. But I liked the idea because I love singing. I sing, and he would hear me sing like in the car and around the house, because my favorite band in the world is Miles Davis's band, his second great quintet, which is the 60s band with Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, Ron Carter, and my ultimate hero, Tony Williams, and of course, Miles Davis himself. And so I know those records really, really well, like the back of my hand. So I sing it because I love it. I sing the solos, I sing everybody's parts, I sing the drum stuff, I sing the bass stuff, I sing the keyboards, I sing Miles' stuff, I sing Wayne's stuff. It's because I love it. So I'm only doing it for that reason. But he would hear me do it and he'd say, Cindy, you should really sing. And he told me that I should maybe check out Narda Michael Walden and as a producer. And Narda heard a song that I did sing on Carlos's record, the Santana Isley record, called Power of Peace. I wrote this song when I lived in New York some years ago called I Remember. And I did demo the song at that point, but I demoed it really to give it to somebody to sing. I didn't demo it to sing it myself. And when we were doing the Power of Peace record with Santana and Isley's, it came down to the last day of recording, and I said, Carlos, I have this ballad. I'm wondering maybe we can give it to Ronnie to sing, because he has such an angelic, beautiful voice. I thought that it would be beautiful if he sang that song. And so, I played the song for Carlos, and he said, yeah, let's take it. So we took it to the session, and Ronnie was listening, and I'm thinking, I don't know if he likes it. But, the look on his face was later explained when he said, well, it's a beautiful song, but I think it's a woman's song. I think it's a female song. I don't think a man should be singing this. Maybe we should get so-and-so or so-and-so and so-and-so to sing it. And Carlos was like, no, we're not going to get any of those people to sing it. We're going to get Cindy to sing it. And I was like, Cindy to sing it? I really don't know about that one. But I did end up singing that song. And so Narda heard that song. Carlos played it for Narda, and Narda said to me, Cindy, I want to produce you. Let's go in the studio. And I said, dude, you've done Whitney and Aretha. You can't produce me. I'm not a singer. I just did it, as that was kind of just an emotional thing, and it's just another creative outreach, because drums are not harmonic or really melodic, even though you can play them melodically, they're not melodic instruments. So that's just another way for me to get, creativity out. But he was convinced that he could do it. And so we went into the studio, we started co-writing, and we ended up doing 7 songs together. And so that's part of the package of this record. There are instrumentals, there are a couple vocal songs that I produced myself, but Narda did 7 of them. And we were able to really get great people. Of course, Carlos is playing his butt off on the record, so he's on the record. It's really good, great guitar player heavy. So we have Carlos Santana, we have John McLaughlin is on 2 tracks, and I'm really grateful to John, because he was on 1 track, And then I was just happy with that. And he reached out to me several times and he said, Cindy, I want to do something else. And I'm like, really? I think he's just kidding. But then he kept reaching out. I'm like, oh, we got to get something for John. He said he wants to be on it. So he's on 2 tracks. My buddy Vernon Reed is on it. And Kurt Hammett is on it from Metallica. So we have those guys. We have Benny Ritfeld on bass, Matt Garrison, as I said, on bass as well, and some other really great musicians. So, you know, we put that together, and that's the record that'll be coming out.
Well, I know everyone's looking forward to it. Carlos, you know, with all the great music you've done, one of the foremost that comes to mind is Smooth, and the reason it does is because what's smooth about it? It's just some of the greatest stuff you can hear. Why the name Smooth?
Because it's about a person who has spiritual confidence in himself, not arrogance, not being cynical, not that. Spiritual confidence is, you know, for me, like I said, Nat King Cole, Arthur Ashe, Duke Ellington, Miles, you know, I always equate confidence with men that just the way they walk into a room, they carry how they carry themselves, you know. And Smooth is about a gentleman who, you know, he has that carriage of himself. In my father, you know, I always just wanted to be like my dad, because my dad was a person who moved over Cary Grant and Clark Gable. You know, my dad had this charisma, man, that women like, oh, Don Jose, you know. And I always, when I was a kid, I was watching little kids and women and men with respect and admiration. But my dad had a certain way of presenting himself, and I didn't know what it was until later. I realized that it's called charisma. You know, my mother has conviction, and my dad is pure charisma. So somehow it got synthesized in my being. And when I recorded this song, it was the last song on Supernatural. And I remember saying to Clive, I think we got enough. Why don't we just go with what we got? He goes, no, trust me. This is what I do for a living. This song is going to be supremely important. And so he sent me the song. And when I first heard it, because it was a demo, I said, okay, it's got something in there, but I'm not sure I'm believing the singer, you know, because I need to believe that what the singer is singing is you know, is what it, that frequency that I love, you know. So he said, uh-oh. So he went and asked Rob Thomas, listen, Carlos wants to know, I want to know, play this. I want to know if you guys can go to the studio and cut it at the same time with his band himself and you singing it. Man, we were halfway to the song and I knew that was the song. Like for Coltrane is A Love Supreme, you know. Mm-hmm. For Bob Marley is a bunch of them, but it's basically One Love. For, you know, everybody has the song that stands above, you know, for Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come. Every artist has a song that is like the Mona Lisa, you know. So we went and did it in one take, and that song helped even Maria follow it, you know. Yep. And, but I'm very grateful. It's important for me to share with my sisters and brothers that if you allow willingness to believe in archangel beings hovering over you right now to help you with your dreams and aspirations. For me, this supernatural thing happened because of Archangel Metatron, who came to me and personally told me, we're going to put you on the air in the radio like you've never been before. And every time you receive an award, we want you to say, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sabaoth, which means glory, glory, glory to the highest, you know. And I was like, okay, you know. But it's important that sisters and brothers know we don't walk alone. You have angels and archangels to help you with your dreams and aspirations, you know, and that is important for people to take from this frequency right now that Cindy and I are sharing. Open your heart to God's fingers to sculpture you. The fingers of God are angels. They're the ones who sculpture you, you know, your personality, your character, you know. And I am so grateful that all my life I believe in something that people thought that I'm crazy, you know. And I go, well, my crazy is working for me. How is your being working for you, man? You know.
do they actually, do you drink or something like that, Carlos?
Well, they want to know, you know, if they want to know about the other side of a consciousness, like, you know, ayahuasca, peyote, mescaline, LSD, or whatever. And I go, under supervision, you should try it, because a square is a square is a square is a square. You dig? And those people who are not squares are shamans who understand the language of light and multidimensional beings. So don't dismiss something that you're afraid of just because you haven't tried it. Again, under supervision, because even Cary Grant took it because he was so confused, the poor fellow. He didn't know who the hell he was. He played so many roles in the movies. Will the real Cary Grant stand up? And he wouldn't stand up.
Yeah, well, isn't that the case with a lot of artists, right? Even music artists. You go on stage, you're before all these people, and you guys, both of you, know what it's like to play before maybe 50,000, 100,000 people. You do have to become someone else, don't you?
No, well, actually, you become who you always have been, never not have been, always will be. The inner authenticity, individuality, uniqueness that God gave you. Your core. What you embrace is the real you, instead of all the layers of fake, phony, baloney, shallow, hollow, synthetic, plastic gem. You know, because people have a lot of layers, man. And
Carlos, and in that business in Hollywood in general, right? You said phony baloney, right? Isn't there a lot of fakeness, if you will?
99.9. You know, but the good news is that as we see that there's a lot of false coins, there's also real ones. And when you see the real one and you actually are able to hold it and touch it, like for me, the real coins is Aretha Franklin, you know, Mahalia Jackson, Bob Dylan, you know, the real coins are those who sing to elevate, transform, illumine consciousness, human consciousness. If you're into just purely show business and entertainment, and you just want to get the latest car and the latest this, that's okay. I'm not passing a judgment, you know, go for it. But that ain't going to get you immortality or eternity. That's a passing, what do they call it?
A passing fancy?
flavor of the second.
Okay. So how did you guys, well, let me put it this way. How is it working together? You guys have done a lot of work together. What is that like, Cindy?
It's very cool because, you know, there's so much that we have in common in terms of the music that we like, and spiritually in terms of our direction, you know, and there are enough differences that we can each bring something to the table, or there are enough, I don't know if I would call them differences, but just other ways of looking at things, so we can bring different ideas to the table. You know, I've studied certain things, he studied certain things, he does study certain things, I study other things. You know, I take a lot of metaphysics classes. He reads a lot of metaphysics books, and, you know, I've studied certain spiritual disciplines. He studied certain spiritual disciplines, you know, and they've all brought us to a certain point. You know, he's listened to certain music, I've listened to certain music. We've listened to a lot of the same music, you know, so there's a lot of stuff that we can both bring to the table. So it really helps to glorify each of what we're both presenting. You know, it's a very amazing, not only support, but also blossoming point, because we bounce things off of each other, you know, and that's a really great thing. And, you know, you did ask me earlier about, you know, how has it been in COVID, and that plus the fact that, you know, if we look at this period, you know, as rough as it's been in many ways, you know, if we want to find the silver lining and we say, you know, this is a point in time where we can all go into our core for the good of all humanity, not just ourselves, but for the good of everyone. You know, we can help each other birth a new social behavior, a new level of compassion, a new level of love, a new level of understanding, a new level of recognition of divinity, because we need to recognize the divinity in ourselves, but we also need to recognize the divinity in everyone else. Because anytime you look at any person, I don't care whether they're red, black, blue, green, or purple, when you look at another person, you're looking at another you. You know, thus the adage, there for the grace of God, go I. But you know what? Because of the grace of God, there you do go. So that reflection is something that you can see and learn from, expound from, or you can take as a beautiful opportunity to help. Because if we're not raising each other up as human beings, as spiritual beings, then what are we doing here? We're not really doing anything.
Yeah, we are talking live. This is the Black Press. This is the 193rd anniversary of the Black Press of America. This week is a special convention of the Black Press. You can find all the great stuff at virtualnnpa2020.com. In fact, coming up at 7 o'clock is a town hall on education, a very important town hall on education at 7 o'clock, www.virtualnnpa2020.com. It is such a privilege to have the great Carlos Santana and the equally great Cindy Blackman Santana with us. You know, your fans, folks are chiming in. I mentioned it being the anniversary of the Black Press. Our president and CEO, Dr. Benjamin Chavis Jr., who is the great civil rights leader, he states, greatest of the greats. God bless your outstanding family, talent, and genius. That's the message from our president. Wow. You know, when you were talking, Cindy, your husband was giving you the thumbs up, 2 thumbs up, not just one. Just so you know, you didn't see him, but
thank you, dear.
So, what's we know, Cindy, about the new album, the new record that, like I said, in a few moments we're gonna play that. But what else is in the works for you and Carlos together?
Well, you know, we will be looking at, you know, some of the next musics. We've both been inspired to write things. You know, he's written some things while we've been here, you know, in this lockdown situation, and I have too. But we are both really chomping at the bit to play live, you know, to tour, because, you know, that is an incredible way to channel light to people. It's great for us. It's fun for us, and it's what we love to do. But you can also use that, and it's not using, but it is a medium to channel energy and light to people. And when you can do that, if you're touching somebody's core, you're helping them feel their own heart center, then you can help them heal. You can help them change this, which is what we need to do. That's the first thing we need to do, is to change this, you know. So we're really hungry to get out and tour again. So we've been, you know, prepping for that in here and in here and in here and in here.
And everywhere, right?
Everywhere, yeah.
So and that, Cindy and Carlos, you mentioned being on lockdown. Did that kind of increase your creativity, or did it in any way interfere with your creativity?
No. for me, it has helped me crystallize, which is my favorite word. It crystallized my intentionality, my purpose, to a whole other level of understanding why Coltrane and Bob Marley are so important to me, because the frequency of their music, and we learned this, Cindy and I, at the same time about Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand God, you have to learn about energy, frequency, and vibration. You don't have to call it Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Allah. If you don't want to, just understand that all of it is energy, frequency, and vibration. And with that, in one note, whether it's with the drum or the guitar, in one note, you're supposed to rearrange, transmogrify molecular structure. And people say, what the hell does that mean? It means that when you hit a note, people are assaulted, their senses, by the Holy Ghost. They cry, they laugh, they dance, and they don't even know why. And all of a sudden, like a dog shakes up fear, guilt, shame, like a shaggy dog shakes water, man, you start shaking off all the things that don't belong in your spirit. So being in this, I wouldn't even call it lockdown, because if we're not bragging, but if you see where we are, this doing time in here is like, hey, because people used to say, I'll recite it like this. People used to say, at least that's what I heard when I was a youngster. People used to say, everybody wants to go to heaven, nobody wants to die. Being here with Cindy, I'm in heaven and I didn't die. Every day I am born to a whole new delight. And Cindy and I, we listen to Bob Marley, Marvin Gaye, Sonny Sharrock, Tony Williams, and everything that we listen to it because next time we present ourselves, it's like Ringling Brothers.
Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. It's everything with clowns and everything. We were so enthusiastically looking forward to doing this tour with our dear brothers, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yes.
Yeah, because we toured with them. I toured with them in 1975 all through Europe. And I could see back then that they were what they are today, a force to be reckoned, when it comes to just the elements alone, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Damn,
Well, they're a lot like you guys, true legends. Again, we're talking with Carlos Santana and Cindy Blackman Santana, Black Press Live, during our annual conference at 7 o'clock tonight. Again, there's going to be a town hall on education at www.virtualnnpa2020.com. Carlos, Cindy, you've talked a lot about music tonight, but you've also talked about many other things. Do you think that it's important for artists to expose themselves to as many subjects and experiences as possible? Does that make you a better artist?
I think exposure and new articles that you introduce always give you a bigger vocabulary, So even learning about a new flower can give you a new vocabulary, or a new bird, or hearing a new sound, or hearing the next rainstorm, or hearing the next song. So yes, because the thing is, if you really in your heart center when you're presenting music, then it's going to involve life. And that's why I like jazz, because it's a life music, it's creative. And every day is different, which means every day is creative. So, okay, there's a parallel there. And then, music, if we're really presenting music from the human perspective and from the spiritual perspective, it's part street, because this is where we live and this is what we do. That changes every day. And this is what jazz is. Jazz is part street, it's part heart, because you're giving all of this. It's got, your feel in it, your emotion, it's part intellect. So it's got this in it, and if you're thinking every day, then you're always creating something, So if you have all these elements and you're getting new impetus all the time, then you're always able to add freshness to the music. You know, you can take a song that's 500 years old and add freshness to it if you're truly living in the moment. So to be presently in the moment, but still have the highest regard, respect, admiration, and gratitude for whatever's come before and for whatever you might see in the future, then your music is going to stay fresh.
Yeah, and you mentioned several times, you've mentioned Bob Marley. A couple of weeks ago, we had Ziggy Marley on this program, and I tell you, what an amazing interview like tonight that was. And in fact, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at our conference, Ziggy Marley is receiving the Global Icon Award. People can tune in at 7 p.m. at www.virtualnnpa2020.com. Yeah, absolutely. Well deserved. Just like every award you guys have gotten, it's well deserved. And so before we let you go, we have to let the fans see and hear Cindy Blackman Santana. She's joined on Imagine by her husband, the one and only Carlos Santana, and you will hear a little bit of Lenny Kravitz on that too, and we love it. Thank you so much, and here we are. Here it comes. Imagine by Cindy Blackman Santana.
Thank you.
Imagination is more important than knowledge. Albert Einstein.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. And no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one. Carlos! Imagine all the people, yeah, sharing all the world. You might say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. is one, y'all. Everybody say, I'm a dreamer, but I sing it for everybody. Every day, imagine everybody living life, having fun. Hey, see it in your mind, man. Woo. One people, one nation. Hey, imagine us living as one.
Amazing. Cindy, Blackman, Santana, and Carlos Santana. Hey, this has been an absolute privilege. We really appreciate you guys. And Carlos, keep enjoying that paradise of yours over there.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you guys so much, and congratulations.
We appreciate it. And you guys, we hope to have you again when you got some more new music. That's fantastic. You guys are just great. Thanks again. And thank you, everybody. Continue to watch because, again, tomorrow night, like I said, at 7 o'clock, a big night for the Black Press with the awards. We're going to have a special tribute to Nancy Wilson of the Supremes. Also perform something really special. The Temptations is actually going to perform something extremely special tomorrow night. Ziggy Marley, you'll hear from him, Ice Cube, and others. So stay tuned. This is going to be it's already been a great conference. It's going to be even greater. The 193rd year of the Black Press. Anybody can tune in. It's free. www.virtualnnpa2020.com. Thank you all for joining us. Stay safe and stay well. Good night.
Hope and courage. Hope and courage.
We'll see you tomorrow night. We'll be watching.
Absolutely.
Okay. No question and answers or anything like that.
No.